What's going on, guys? Arid Lords here. Welcome back to a different TV vlog. I felt the need to do this because I've done it every single season when this show has ended. The finale aired last Monday, and I wanted to give my thoughts on it right now. This is, of course, as you can see by the image, just that way. There we go. Better Call Saul Season 3. I've been watching this every single Monday that the episodes have been airing for the past 10 weeks, I guess. They did do a skip for Memorial Day weekend. But for most, like every Monday at 10 o'clock, I've been keeping track of this series. And it's been phenomenal. It really has been a great addition to the backstory of the Breaking Bad universe. Getting to see more into Jimmy McGill, a.k.a. Saul Goodman, also as Mike Ehrmantraut, and some of the other characters that have come up as new. In this season, Gus Fring comes back. We get to spend more times with the newer characters like Kim and Nacho. The show has really developed into its own, and there was a lot of anticipation for this season because there was the cliffhanger of Season 2. Spoiler alert, obviously, if you haven't caught up on Saul, this will be a spoiler, but with the cliffhanger, with Chuck taping Jimmy's confession about what he changed on the Mesa Verde files, that was a huge cliffhanger. It was funny because it happened around the same time that the Negan cliffhanger happened at the end of Season 6. So two of my favorite AMC shows had both put me off on cliffhangers, so I wasn't too happy. But it was good to see that resolved this season. And the plot moved steadily. There were some episodes that felt like that they were Breaking Bad episodes. There was one episode that started with Hector and Don Eladio, like the whole cartel up in that Mexican mansion where Gus poisons them all in Breaking Bad, which was really cool. A lot of scenes that just dealt with the cartel. It just dealt with Gus facing off against Hector. There was a scene where Gus has a speech to his employees. You're seeing a more vulnerable Gus, a different side of Gus, and they give him his own screen time and attention. Many characters are given just individual time on their own. So Gus has that, Kim has that, Nacho gets that a bunch of times. Obviously, Mike gets that. Mike and Jimmy are basically our two main characters. And so the show switches off between all of them, and it juggles it very... You'd think with that many characters giving them individual screen time that it might be difficult, but most of the time these characters are overlapping. Less the lawyers and the drug business, obviously less so, but in the orbit, usually Jimmy is the overlapping circle of the cartel and the lawyer side of things. So it was interesting to see how this season progressed. It started with Jimmy thinking that he had made Chuck feel better, him and Kim still in that office. There are a bunch of new characters that get introduced that we know, characters that we know. Francesca, the desk attendant. Huel makes an appearance in an episode, and his big contribution of planting the battery on Chuck. That episode, Chicanery, was probably my favorite. The court showdown of Jimmy versus Chuck was just masterful. The way that the emotions of the characters and their dynamic and what they thought about each other, of how the whole thing went down. And that incident that Chuck has in court basically seals his fate for the rest of the season. He can never come back from that. He tries to beat his illness. You think that he might beat his illness, but then the huge twist of him having a falling out with Howard. Howard has just reached his wit's end. And it's interesting because you get to see Howard's character from a different perspective. Most of the time people are thinking, even in Season 1, that, oh, he's a dick because he's not giving Jimmy the lawyer job. And he seems like just not a nice guy at all. But he's really been doing Chuck's will this whole time in terms of not hiring Jimmy and some of the other decisions that he's made. But at this point, Howard is looking out for himself and his own firm, and Chuck's illness and everything that he has done that has publicly hurt the company, HHM. He's had to do damage control, and it's just becoming, stressful. And both Chuck and Jimmy have kind of just caused him more stress than he probably thought was necessary. So it's kind of shocking, again, some of the plots, where they went with the story. It was nice that We got to see how Hector gets in the wheelchair. I never would have guessed Nacho poisoning him with the pills would have been it. But again, like we see, because Nacho doesn't want his father's a straight-laced guy. He doesn't want his father to get mixed up with the cartel. So he goes on this individual mission to, try to take out Hector with that medical pill switch up. And that's, again, one of our, as I was saying, one of our original individual stories, and that is given sort of a conclusion. By the end of the season, Hector does succumb to his illness, and obviously we know that he doesn't die. He gets put in the wheelchair with the bell, so I'm assuming we'll see him starting to get accustomed to that very limited lifestyle. And then Kim working herself, basically this whole season, Kim just working herself to death. Like with Mesa Verde and some of her other clients, she's just gone crazy with them. By the end of the season, we see with her car accident that she, hasn't realized just how much stress she's put on herself. And by the finale, I think she finally comes back to planet Earth. The scene where she goes to Blockbuster and buys all those videos and tries to relax and take it easy. I think she's starting to realize like what she needs to do to help herself. The big question moving forward is how Jimmy and Kim are going to, again, this is another big spoiler, but how are they going to react to Chuck's death? It was confirmed that he did die in the fire in the very last scene of the finale. That lantern did set the fire. And I didn't realize it at first in my reaction video that I did with my brother, but Chuck was trying to commit suicide. At the end of the episode on live TV, there was a number for like the National Suicide Hotline, so they're like, trying to make sure people don't replicate that. But I thought he was like asleep and he did it by accident. But then if you look his eyes, like what he's trying to do, he's just, it's a very tragic character. It almost reminded me of like an Oedipus Rex kind of character. If anyone reads like Greek mythology, Greek works of literature, the tragic case of the flawed character, the character that's trying to do some good, some sort of noble pursuit, but they're bogged down by mental inabilities, and it ends up being their downfall. And you see a character that had potential to be good, but they ended up falling tragically, and they end up dying or having some terrible fate. So, again, like, Jimmy tries to reach out to Chuck in the finale, and Chuck pushes him away, either because he's still angry at him, or he truly feels this way just because he's so self-centered and vicious. And a lot of people I've seen, are saying, oh, screw Chuck, I'm glad he's dead. But again, like, I see him as a tragic character. I see that he could have had redemption, and I think this is going to devastate Jimmy. Even though Jimmy's been very angry at Chuck, even in this season, he says that Chuck's not his brother anymore when Chuck's wife confronts him on it. He still cares about him, and again, that's evident from the finale. The fact that he went to his house to check on him and make sure he's doing well, it shows that Jimmy still has the heart, even though he's turning into Saul Goodman. We saw some of his acts when he was toying with that old woman Irene, which was pretty dark, to turn all of that old woman's friends against her just so he could get his sandpiper money. And again, he did the right thing in the end, but that eliminates his elder law practice. Basically, he's ousted by the entire elderly community because of what he did. So that destroys his practice, even though he's still not going to be a lawyer for a few months. I don't know where that trial is going to go. Like, now that Chuck's dead, will Jimmy still be suspended for a year? The money that Howard wrote him, the $3 million, is that check just null and void, so Howard doesn't have to destroy his own bank account trying to get rid of Chuck? Like, there are some questions that are still up in the air because Chuck's presence, he affected the lives of Jimmy and Howard mainly, so I don't know how they're both going to be affected by this. Also, Howard's character was mainly in the show because of Chuck. Like, Chuck's kept Howard's character kind of grounded in the show. Now that Chuck's gone, what will be the purpose of seeing Howard? Other than at a funeral, or maybe one odd conversation with Kim about her injury, or maybe talking to Jimmy about how he's going to miss Chuck. Like, something like that. Like, other than that kind of brief conversation, I don't know what else we'll be seeing of Howard, because it's just him running his firm. Maybe the death of Chuck will affect the firm. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where they're going to take Howard's character, because at least in previous seasons, it was always Chuck and Howard versus Jimmy, and so that's where Howard's character came in. But now that Chuck's gone, and Howard's just doing his own thing, running his own business, I'm not sure where his character is going to end up. Same with Kim. I know, Vince Gilligan has foreshadowed that, Kim will be gone from Jimmy's life in some form. I mean, she could die potentially, and I almost thought she was going to during that car accident, but I don't know. I don't know if maybe there'll be some crossfire from Jimmy getting involved in the cartel business from Mike and Gus, and maybe she'll be caught in it. I don't know. I mean, their bond is still the strongest it's ever been. They're still as strong as they were at the beginning of this finale, and I'm glad they make a good team. They've got each other's backs, but it's going to be a very tragic. I mean, talk about tragedy. It's going to be a tragic moment when Kim leaves the show, whether she dies off or she just leaves. Jimmy does something that pisses her off. I don't know. But I like that duo. I like the dynamic duo, and I hope that she doesn't die. Maybe at the end of Better Call Saul, maybe at the end he'll find her or something. I have no idea, even though he's in hiding from the police. Who knows? So those are just some of my thoughts. I think, again, Season 3, definitely the best season of Better Call Saul. It just had so much diversity between the drug cartel side of it, multiple characters getting individual screen time, and all of the characters kind of coming back together. No episode really felt like it was kind of mundane or, dragging through the muck. There was always something new. It was interesting because the beginning, it was, Jimmy being arrested, facing off with Chuck. In the middle, he finally defeats him. Mike's getting to know Gus for the first time. Then at the end, Jimmy's doing his Saul Goodman stuff where he's doing the advertisements. And then at the end, he's trying to do the sandpiper. Like, there's a lot of plot moments that happen. Like, the plot doesn't remain stagnant. For Season 2, it was a little stagnant when Jimmy was at Davis and Maine, and Kim was slowly leaving HHM. So there were a lot of kind of little stagnant things that happened. At the end of Season 2, it revved up the pace, but Season 3 had that rapid-fire pace that Season 2 did for the entirety. So it really worked well. So those are all the comments I have. Some people were asking for other Saul videos because I uploaded just that reaction video, and it did very well. I thank everyone for watching it and liking it. Because Better Call Saul's not coming on till next spring, there's not much I can do with it. There's like zero Season 4 information, so I can't really do much in terms of predictions or anything. I've offered some of my predictions here, and I reviewed Season 3. Again, it's going to be Jimmy moving more towards the Mike and Gus side of things, Kim recovering and maybe going back to work, but something will happen with, everything with Jimmy. I mean, I don't know. Where are they going to practice law? They had to sell off their office at the end of the season. Everything's kind of thrown into orbit. Everything. By the end of Season 3, everything's thrown into orbit. Howard lost his business partner, is technically out $3 million. Chuck's dead. Jimmy and Kim don't have their firm anymore, and they're Kim's hurt. They're trying to find a way to get back on their feet. Jimmy won't have the sandpiper money for a while now that he pissed off all the elderly. He lost his elder law pretty much. He's still not a lawyer. So there's a lot of things that still have to get resolved, and most people aren't in a good place in the show right now. I think Mike is about the only character that's in a really good place right now. Now that he just met with Lydia and he put all this money into the system, he's got the best outcome of any character right now in the show. He's doing, he's in tip-top shape. Him and Gus are making things work. So I feel like, since I think Jimmy's going to need a little bit of that luck, so he's going to cross with their paths in Season 4. And I'll also be interested to see where Nacho comes into play. Well, I think the cartel will find out that he tried to poison Hector Salamanca, and that'll lead to his demise. I do think Nacho definitely will be killed off. He'll be the nenext character to be killed off. He's not in Breaking Bad, and I guarantee you that the cartel will find out about what he did. So, yeah, those are all my predictions. Thank you guys for watching, and again, thank you for watching that reaction video. I know I didn't do the picture-in-picture. It was kind of last minute. It was just me and my brother watching it. I thought it would be a little bit more action-packed, even though there were some big moments that happened. There was nothing that kind of like was a jump-out thing, like The Walking Dead with the high action. It was just kind of the show just going on its normal course. So yeah, that's about it for me. So thank you guys for watching. Write your comments below. If there is a type of vlog for a Better Call Saul you want me to do, I guess I'll consider it. But for now, that's it for Saul. See you guys later. Peace out.